Nou vind ik het overigens wel veel moeilijker om een soort van dagvoorzitter te zijn dan gewoon een presentatie te geven, hoor. Dus help me daarbij in die zin. De volgende spreker, en we hebben er twee. Steven Worrell komt zo meteen hierna. En daarna Kevin Vries. En daarna hebben we een pauze van ongeveer 20 minuten. En Steven Worrell gaat een verhaal vertellen over leads. En over op welke manier je die op dit moment in een wereld van 2019, 2020 het beste kan benaderen. En om als voorbeeld te geven hoe je dat zou kunnen doen, zou ik willen vragen dat jullie je smartphone pakken en ga eens naar een website genaamd www.broekhuis.nl. Is er iemand van Broekhuis overigens hier? Volgens mij nee. Oké, ga eens naar www.broekhuis.nl. En dan krijg je een cookie banner, je krijgt een Black Friday pop-up. Die kun je allemaal skippen. En dan krijg je een zoekmachine. En daar klik je op. En dan krijg je de zoekresultatenpagina, de SRP. Dan klik je op de eerste, de beste auto. En als het goed is, kom je dan op de VDP. En op de VDP, zeg maar, daar zou je de conversie moeten kunnen maken. Iemand moet kunnen bellen, iemand moet kunnen mailen. Zijn we er allemaal zo'n beetje? Oh, site is oké. Oké. De site is crashed, oké. Oké. Dat werkt dan niet meer op zo'n manier, maar goed. Wat ik wil zeggen eigenlijk, wat op de Broekhuis website is, zeg maar, is eigenlijk de beste versie en de slechtste versie in één website. Want namelijk, wat hebben ze daar gedaan? Op de productpagina kun je bellen en mailen. Kun je een call to action doen, check beschikbaarheid, een proefrit aanvragen, inruilvoorstel aanvragen. En het dwingt je allemaal naar een bepaald formulier. Een bepaald formulier wat je misschien niet in de wereld van 2019 wil invullen. Wellicht. Maar aan de andere kant hebben ze aan de rechts onderin een blauwe button. Een wolkje. En als je daarop klikt, dan kun je gelijk een WhatsApp bericht sturen, een SMS bericht sturen, je kunt bellen, je kunt mailen. Oftewel, je hebt al die formulieren niet meer nodig, want je hoeft niks meer in te vullen, want je kan gelijk communiceren. Vergelijk maar eens, zeg maar, met de Marktplaats-app, met een messenger tool daarin. Exact hetzelfde. Dus waarom zou je nog formulieren maken, zeg maar, als je op een andere manier kan communiceren? Nou, met dat verhaal in gedachten ben ik naar Londen gegaan. Daar zal Steven zo meteen wat over vertellen. Van wat kunnen we daarmee oplossen? Want leadsopvolging vind ik ontzettend belangrijk, vind ik ook leuk. Maar wat voor oplossing kan ik daarvoor verzinnen? En Steven, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you talk us through about your definition of e-commerce 2020?
Yeah, of course. E-commerce 2020 for us, that's a nice lead actually. LivePerson actually see e-commerce as being sort of a little old hat, and we look into the future in respect of everything moving to R-commerce. And R-commerce is more about referrals from your brand, your reputation, the ability for your brand to re-solicit your customers. So it's about wrapping your arms around the customer and ultimately looking after the lifetime value of this customer. So what I'm going to share with you now is some insight and some facts and some thought leadership around getting you guys to really consider your digital consumer engagement strategies. So first of all, I'd like to thank Paul and the team for inviting me along for this keynote session today. And it's great to be here to be able to share some insight with you. It's fair to say that I was looking to find a partner in the Benelux region for some time. Paul and I met about 6 months ago, but it's probably fair for me to say that I've been stalking him on LinkedIn for about 10 to 12 months, just building up a profile of this guy and following some of his podcasts and looking at the sort of activity of DCDW in this region. And in order for us as LivePerson to be able to get some traction in this marketplace, particularly in automotive, we needed a strong partner, and absolutely we found that in Paul and his senior team. So what I'm going to run through for you today is just 4 short topics. So I'm going to cover off a short piece about LivePerson and the history of innovation that we've led in conversational commerce. I'm then going to talk you through what we see as trouble in paradise in respect of the current standard communication channels that we're all making use of in order to allow our consumers to engage with us. And then it's a case of, well, where are your customers then? And ultimately a wrap up with the move to messaging. So in respect of innovation, LivePerson has been around since 1995, and the founder and CEO of LivePerson, a guy called Rob LoCascio, is actually famed with inventing web chat. So everybody in the room is probably a little excited about web chat, or has been over the course of the last year or so. Your competitors are now starting to add web chat. For us, web chat's something that it's core to our business, or at least communication is core to our business. So this is the core to what we do, and we know a little bit about it because we've been doing it for about 20 years or so now. Launched on the NASDAQ in 2000, so our CEO and founder Rob is the longest serving founder and CEO on the NASDAQ currently. But in 2016, after a trip to China, a business trip, Rob saw something over there called WeChat. And WeChat is very similar to WhatsApp. And you've not only got over 1 billion consumers in there messaging friends and family, as we probably naturally would in the Western world on WhatsApp, but every brand in that marketplace is in there as well. And they're buying things, they're transacting, they're paying for goods. So Rob came away from that trip and thought, actually, whilst live chat has been okay, there's possibly a new way for us to help businesses engage with consumers that keeps them in this asynchronous environment, which is messaging. So the business in 2016 took a big tack away from live chat and moved into this messaging space. And in 2018, we launched our AI engine called Maven. That has been developed and led by a guy called Alex Spinelli, who was famed for leading the development of the Alexa product for Amazon. So it's got some great pedigree behind it. Since 2016 and this big move into messaging, we've partnered with some of the biggest brands globally, and they've come on the journey with us, but we also scale the solution to be able to fit smaller, medium enterprise businesses as well. And at the moment, we're at about 18,000 plus brands working with us. And the first one was T-Mobile. They came on the journey. And it's been so successful for T-Mobile in respect of just messaging their customers that they now actually have a roadmap where in the next few years they're potentially going to close the website. So it's been very powerful for us, and as you can see, some of the big brands globally have come along, and this is changing all the time in respect to the different open endpoints that you can make use of to message your consumer base. So from LivePerson's perspective, we call it conversational commerce. And conversational commerce for us is all about allowing the consumer to engage with you in their own time, on their own terms, usually at 9 p.m. at night, sat in their pajamas on the sofa, through a messaging channel of their choice. And that could be WhatsApp, it could be Facebook Messenger, it could be SMS, it could be web messaging. But you're allowing the consumer to engage with you through the channel of their choice that they're most comfortable with. And in order to be successful in terms of launching a digital consumer engagement strategy at scale, if you're seeing big volume coming into your business, then you've got to at least consider making use of some AI and bots in order to help relieve bottlenecks and pain points. So I'll move on to the trouble in paradise, calls, emails, and chat. And what I mean by that is we've all probably been in this particular situation where you've had to make a call, whether it's to the service centre to get your car booked in, or to the dentist, or to the gas company, or your telco, or your cable provider. And ultimately you give them a call because that's the way you've been forced to communicate with them traditionally. And you go through the IVR system, and it's a case of press 1 for sales, 2 for service, 3 for general inquiries. And after going through this painful process, which nobody really likes anyway, you ultimately arrive at what you think is your destination, only to be told, hey, you're 10th in the queue and it's going to be 15 minutes wait. Well, that's great, isn't it? No customer ever likes that experience, and they all usually leave or they bide their time. But customers hate this IVR thing. And just some high-level stats, not only from T-Mobile, 90% of people hate using the IVR to contact their business, but with global brands everywhere in every sector, whether it's retail, telco, airlines, banking, automotive, customers just don't like waiting on the phone. If they've taken time out of their day to actually make time to communicate with your brand, they expect engagement instantly. They don't want to be waiting around. And interestingly, from some consumer research that we did in the States, 32% of people would rather clean a toilet than actually go through the IVR system. So phone's not ideal nowadays. And then ultimately, unfortunately, bad news for email as well. Email's been a great tool for us to communicate with brands from a personal perspective and brands to communicate with consumers. But some high-level facts, I think modern-day spam is now a real challenge for email. And proactive email campaigns going out to the consumer have a really challenging time. I mean, some of the stats on there, as you can see, they have the best chance of being opened if it's a proactive email campaign within the first hour of being received. After that, it really starts to fall off a cliff. After 4 hours, you're looking at potentially a 5% open rate. And after 24 hours, you're potentially lucky if 1% of people will actually open that email and engage with you. 70% of emails only opened because people are actually looking for a discount or a coupon or an offer. And just shy of 50% of all email received by consumers today is spam. So email is having a challenging time as well. But it's still a medium that, you know, not only in automotive, but right across the different industries, you know, we're still proactively trying to engage with consumers through these channels. And finally, and potentially controversially, web chat. So as you would call live chat. And whilst live chat is obviously the foundation of the business, and we've been in this industry for, you know, 20 plus years, it faces its own challenges in respect of, you know, it's a moment in time. It's a session-based engagement with the consumer. And consumers expect that if they enter into a live chat with you and your organization, that somebody's going to be there right now and they're going to know the answer to my query instantly. And they expect that instant engagement. If the internet fails and the session disconnects, you can't ever really get that agent and that consumer back together. It'd be millions to 1 chance of doing that through web chat. And unfortunately, it's almost like a, dare I say it, one-night stand. You know, you have a great time if you can get a resolution, but you'll probably never talk to that agent again. So, you know, it's not been ideal. It's taken us part of the way there in respect of a better way to engage with consumers, but it isn't the answer for the future. And ultimately, businesses everywhere across every sector have created what we call the digital fortress. So usually starts with the internet, where you send all your customers, or they naturally go to find some information out about your products and your services and your business generally. But then if they want to communicate with you, they're being pushed into either pick up the phone and call us. Well, we know that, you know, not many people like doing that nowadays, and particularly millennials and Generation Z really don't want to talk to you on the phone. And then potentially drop us an email. Well, nobody really likes to take the time to write an email to a business. And finally, you've got obviously web chat. So the future for us in this messaging world, this asynchronous environment where you're always engaged with the consumer and always allowing them to come back to you, is multi-channel, it's omni-channel. It's making use of all these different places where your consumers are living in their daily lives currently. And from all the experience that we've got in this space, we know that consumers prefer messaging. So if you think about some of the stats on email, you know, the SMS open rate, 98%. That's really powerful. And then bottom right-hand corner, people are spending 46 minutes on average a day messaging. And you've probably all in the room today sent loads of messages, but probably not made many personal calls. 46 minutes a day, you know, that's a really interesting stat, and that's growing all the time. And LivePerson did some consumer research about a year ago, about this time last year, and found that the 6th most popular thing to do on a mobile device was actually make a call. And that same research has just been refreshed recently, and making a call on a mobile device has now dropped down to the 10th most popular thing to do. So we're doing 9 other things on our mobile devices before actually making a call. And in terms of customer satisfaction, when you allow the consumer to engage in their own time, on their own terms, through the channel of their choice, they're happier. The CSAT scores go up. And that's on an average across all sectors. So as I say, retail, banking, telco, airlines, and automotive. So where are your customers? Where are they today? They're living in social channels. They're living largely on their mobile devices, as we all are. But they are largely living in these social channels and messaging their family and friends through channels that you're potentially not engaging with them currently, and they expect you to be there. So ultimately for brands, the challenge is you've almost got to become a friend in their pocket. you've got to be in their messaging list and allow them to engage with you at any time. And ultimately, that would help with this continuous resolicitation, this lifetime value of a customer. So in automotive, I think it's fair to say that we've always been very good at the first 4 quadrants of that circle, so helping consumers with regards to the information they need on the vehicle they might be interested in the discovery phase, and then the consideration phase, and finally the either online or in-store retailing. But then there's been this huge disconnect where some businesses get it right and most businesses don't really get it right, but it's about that re-engagement. So after the event, how was that experience for you, Mr. Customer? You know, did you get everything you needed and did you expect or get the service that you wanted? And then 6 months down the line, are you still happy, Mr. Customer? Is there anything else we can do for you? And then after the first year, do you need winter tyres changing? Do you want to come in for a free brake check? When do you want to book it in for a service? And this really helps you to consider that lifetime value of the customer. And it's probably fair to say as well that if we were to rewind a couple of years, every brand in the room would have probably put their own logo center of that and said, look, the world revolves around us. But I think it's also fair to say that the consumer has potentially wrestled all the power off every brand globally and effectively said, catch me if you can. I'm everywhere. I'm on Snapchat. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on WhatsApp. I'm on your website. I'm seeing your printed digital ads. So as a brand nowadays, you really need to be considering that everywhere the consumer is seeing your brand, you've got to allow them the ability to engage. And just to reiterate or reinforce that statement, consumers are not only living in these social channels, but they're living in these social channels 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're always active. They're always online. And you can be in airlines, you could be in the airports. Everybody around you is on a mobile device. And it's not uncommon nowadays to be in a boardroom situation where there's a meeting taking place, somebody's phone buzzes on the table, they'll pick it up, they'll send a quick reply, they'll put it back down. And that's accepted nowadays, but again, if you was to rewind 3 or 4 years ago, that might have been frowned on. If somebody's in a room and they're presenting, it's a case, or it was a case of, you know, laptops down, phones off, you're all listening to me. But nowadays we accept that, hey, you know, quick message, set the expectation, I'll come back to you in a little while, I'm busy. And in terms of some research that we carried out, so this was 250 US and UK-based dealers a year ago. And it was over a 1-month period. And these were all businesses where we were managing those conversations. So these were managed service conversations. The interesting thing is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people are interacting with automotive brands. And even if you look at Wednesday at 2 a.m., 55 interactive conversations took place. So we're living in this 24/7, 365 world where you probably need to be asking yourself the question, outside of normal business hours, when my physical location is open, if a consumer wants to contact me and engage with me, how am I currently facilitating that? And if you're not doing anything about it, then the consumer will go elsewhere to a business who is offering some form of engagement when they want it. Globally, currently, we're at about 5 billion consumers with smartphones, and they're in this messaging ecosystem, whether it's iOS or Android. And they've got access to all these different channels that you can see laid out. And over the course of the next few years, you're going to see a lot more of that. It's going to be growing all the time. But for some high-level numbers again, you know, 100 billion messages sent every day on Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram. Just shy of 13 million text messages, SMS messages were sent every minute in 2018. I mean, these are big numbers. And just shy of 500 million new users are going to be added to this ecosystem by 2021. So ultimately, this move away from this session-based environment of connectivity into this asynchronous, always on, always available, history being reloaded when a consumer re-engages with you, this move to messaging sort of looks like this. You've got to be allowing the consumer to engage and offer that engagement through every entry point that's available to you in terms of marketing collateral. And even from print and in-store, QR codes, you can take them straight into messaging. And it's about considering, obviously, the volume of calls and traffic that you receive at the minute is probably coming in through the phone and live chat. But as I say, it's a moment in time, a session-based window. So the ideal state is to move into this asynchronous world. And you've got to really consider asynchronous. You know, any one of us in this room could have a conversation today on WhatsApp and then leave it for a week or so. And then if we re-engage with that same person again, all of the previous chat transcript reloads. And that's the sort of really powerful thing that it can bring for businesses, for commerce. I mentioned phones and the IVR system earlier. Huge challenge. People really don't like it, but if you're going to force them to do it, then that's the way that they'll initially go. But you can also give them the option when they're in that phone loop and trying to navigate their way through your IVR system, that if they do get to where they need to be and thinking they're going to get a live agent on the phone, but they're in a queue, press button number 5 and go straight into messaging. And this can really help your business become much more efficient in terms of how the volume of calls you're handling. You're taking agents from being a one-to-one operative and dealing with somebody on the phone, one person at a time, to possibly a messaging agent who can handle 4 or 5 conversations at once. And as a business, it's down to you to choose the channels that you want to make available for your consumers to move into. And you've got options. You've obviously got SMS as the standard, but then you've got things like Apple Business Chat, Google RCS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. The choice is yours. And in terms of messaging outperforming email, I won't go through all the stats, but just to reiterate, the SMS one, message rate, 95%. I actually think the email one on there, whilst it's standard across all industries, if you like, 20.9% is probably a little bullish. I would personally argue it's a lot less than that. But in terms of messages received per month, I don't know about you guys, but my personal inbox, I have work inbox and my own personal email. They both get hammered with spam, and I don't know how these guys sometimes get hold of my email address. But I'm getting loads of stuff that just drops straight into the spam filter, stuff that I'm not even considering. But when you do look at it, the volumes are huge. So that move away from live chat into messaging really sort of looks like this. And the benefits that messaging is bringing, as I say, is it never disconnects. You're always in their pocket. You're always on hand. If they need to re-engage, they can do. It's not session-based. It's a lot less stressful for the agent as well. In live chat, the agent will always probably consider the fact that I need to try and find the answer for this consumer now because we're in a live chat session. But through messaging, it empowers the agent and the business to be able to set the expectation of the customer. So if they ask a question I can't quite answer right now, I can let them know that, hey, I need a little bit of time. I'm going to research this. I'm going to come back to you with an answer. Consumers not hanging on, looking at a web browser thinking I'm in a live chat session. They can close their phone, go about their daily business. When the chat agent or the messaging operative has the required information, they can just simply go back to the customer and ping, their phone goes off. I've got a message, I've got what I needed. And it's much more convenient for both sides. And ultimately, instead of that one-night stand on the left, it's more about building a relationship, that lifetime value of the customer. When you add in automation with messaging, it gets some real great business results. So we're seeing better customer experience, first contact resolution rates go up, customer satisfaction goes up, you're getting better business outcomes, and ultimately happier agents. We had an instance with a company in the UK called Sky TV. Their agents were getting hammered on the phone every single day in the contact center. And they decided to go with web messaging, and they plugged it in through the IVR system. And literally in 1 month, 40% of all inbound traffic went straight to messaging. And then over the course of the preceding 4, 5, 6 months, it went to about 65, 70% of all inbound phone traffic made the choice to go, actually, yeah, I'll go messaging. And they go straight into Facebook Messenger. And their agents are actually much happier as well. So the future of automotive sales, service, and mobility, it's going to be around this omni-channel, multi-channel approach and really allowing the consumer to engage with you when they want to, in their own time, on their own terms, ultimately through the channel of their choice. And personalization is key. We all like to feel special, and we all like to feel, special when a brand treats us a certain way. So you've got to start to consider that tailoring a response to a consumer will get you better results as well. So we know that 40% of consumers spent more than they were originally intending to because a business engaged with them on a level that made them feel special and not necessarily just a generic customer. We also know that 80% of consumers are more likely to do business if they're going to get this personalized experience. So personalization is key as well. So just to reiterate, live chat, session-based, phone, session-based. Email, not so great, but messaging and using all of these different channels allows for continuous two-way engagement. And conversational brands of the future will allow customers to talk to them. So this is still having a conversation through natural language, but it's in these messaging environments. So to finish off, the 3 key takeaways. 1, if you're not already doing it, you should start to really consider your digital consumer messaging strategy. 2, you should also have somebody in your business, whether that's an individual or a department, actually looking at and starting to understand AI and bots and automation and the benefits that that could bring your business as well. And then 3, potentially a little wacky at the moment, but conversational design is going to be the new web design in the future. So bringing all of this together, what does that look like? It should be easy on both sides of the fence. So I'm going to show you a short video now. That covers my piece.
Stephen, thank you.
No worries.
Stephen, I have a question. You saw the bot on the Volvo piece, right? So you can make your own bot on a WhatsApp tool as well? So not only on the chat tool, but also on the WhatsApp tool?
Well, you would make the bot within the live person system, and then you can surface that bot through any engagement channel of your choice. So you could make that bot surface in Facebook Messenger, you can make use of Apple Business Chat, you can make use of SMS, through web messaging and obviously WhatsApp.
Okay. Zijn er vragen voor Stephen? Dominique. Dominique.
Yes. Well, I'm working as well at the moment on messaging and conversational communication with the customers. My question is, I see in your example that you are replying after 2 days through WhatsApp. But isn't it that WhatsApp has only a time frame for 24 hours to reply to your customer, or you use requested templated messages?
Great question. This is a concept that we're working on with Volvo in the US at the moment. So in respect to the timings on there, they could be a little out, but you're probably right. Technically, I haven't got an answer for you on that right now, but I can get one if you want a firm answer on it.
Oké. Nog meer vragen? Ja.
What is the biggest opportunity and challenge for communication for next year?
Oh, great question. In terms of communication with consumers, I think the biggest challenge for brands is obviously understanding that most consumer interaction nowadays online happens when your bricks and mortar buildings are actually closed. So it's being available outside of normal operating business hours, and it's considering how you're going to manage those interactions. Are you going to make use of automation and set the expectation that you'll come back to them in the morning when your staff are available and on site again? Or are you going to outsource to a partner who can handle that for you 24/7? But I think it's all about understanding that consumers are awake and switched on at every hour of every day. And if your business is effectively turned off and the lights aren't on when they arrive at your site and they've got a question, they'll go to another site. They don't have to stick around anymore. Loyalty is pretty much gone. So it's our job as businesses to try and win back some of that loyalty by giving the customer a great experience, being available when they need you, and then wrapping your arms around them.
Be available when you need you. Stephen, thank you very much for your presentation.
No worries.
And
thank you.
we will do.